to continue with the story about my friend, she would tell me things and I could sense that it wasn't true, that somehow it was inauthentic, and I would start resenting these conversations, and I always felt intruded. Like she would ask me all these questions about me, my personal life, and so forth, and I would answer those questions, and when I would ask something, I felt like whatever was being told me wasn't true, wasn't much, and so I felt intruded by her questions. I started resenting those conversations. But trying to be nice and pleasant, I started suppressing those feelings in myself and just tried to do small talk, and then started avoiding those conversations. So I began to suppress my true emotions. There we go again. When we suppress, we do not heal. Nothing good happens, because eventually it's like a volcano. If the volcano is building up inside, then it has to erupt. That's exactly what happened. I reached a point that I couldn't take it anymore. All those conversations were bothering me, and then I decided that I needed to talk to my friend. I called her, and I tried to be as honest and as authentic as I could be, and I did say it's coming from my heart. I don't know how else to tell you, but I don't feel good about your conversations when you talk to me, what you ask me, and somehow it seems inauthentic. So I was pretty honest how I felt. So it all came out. And my friend was completely angry with me. And to make the story worse, I somehow felt that I was entitled to interpret those feelings for her. So I wrote her an email trying to say, oh, I think you're doing this because of this, and that's what I'm feeling. And again, it just became a very, very ugly conflict. And I didn't know what to do. I was in such a painful experience with this whole conflict, because once I realized that I was hurting her feelings for speaking up for what I was feeling, and I started apologizing, she would not take my apology, and it grew out of proportion. It became a very, very ugly conflict, and we couldn't be around each other, and it was really, really, really ugly. And what was happening is that I was sensing this friend being inauthentic, because I was an empath, and instead of speaking up early enough and just being very clear with my boundaries, what I know I should have done is that I should have just said that I don't like these conversations. I would like you to stop asking me these questions. This is that boundary, but I was learning it. I just started learning about boundaries, so that was the lesson in itself. And then the next lesson was that I was suppressing my feelings, and it was building, and so resentment builds and then it explodes. So that was another lesson, that we have to learn how to communicate our feelings honestly and from a point of love, and right away. We don't wait until it builds up. And what was also happening is that because I was sensing that not being authentic in my friend, I was judging her. I was judging her left and right. How dare she tell me these things, and I can see that this is not true. So I somehow felt that I was right, and I was judging her, and I was actually giving her advice when she never asked me for an advice. So there was another lesson. We never should give advice when we are not asked for. It becomes a criticism. It becomes a judgment. What we should be doing is that saying it again from a point of love. If something is bothering you and you're not really feeling right about things, what we should be saying is that we should approach the person and say, hey, can I share an observation with you? So we ask for their permission. Remember, everything is free will. We cannot just impose our our judgment on them. We have to ask them for an okay to tell them something. So when the person says, sure, go ahead, then we can say, I noticed that when you say things to me, I don't feel that it's true, and so forth. So you have to be able to ask them for permission to share what you're feeling or thinking, and then be polite about it, and just have the conversation early on. All of this was happening in this lesson, and it was just very, very confusing. I didn't know what was going on. I started putting the pieces together later, and with the help of my spiritual teacher, Paul, when I realized that the conflict was getting worse. I apologized numerous times, and my friend would not take my apology. Then that in turn made me feel horrible. I couldn't find myself. I was very, very tormented. I couldn't sleep. I was anxious. I didn't know what to do. And I kept chasing her and asking her for forgiveness. And that's when I reached out to Paul again, my spiritual teacher. And that was that breakthrough when he told me, Oksana, I think you're taking on responsibility that you're not, for the part that you're not responsible for. And that's when he told me that if you said these things, first of all, he said a very interesting thing. He said, you didn't do nothing wrong, which I didn't understand why he would say that, because I felt like I made a huge, huge mistake. But what he was telling me about is that as an empath, I have these strong, strong feelings about other people. And that's what happened. I read the energy of my friend, and I spoke what I truly felt. And of course that didn't go well with her. And so it became a very, very ugly conflict. And then that's when he told me about the feelings. He said, if you apologize sincerely, one apology is enough. Remember, you did not put the feelings in her. The feelings are her feelings. If she cannot forgive you, it's actually her responsibility now to figure out why there's no forgiveness in her heart and why she's feeling the feelings she's feeling. So there was that breakthrough when I realized that it applies to me too. And that's when I started working on that thought, that feelings, we own our feelings, we should be responsible for our feelings. Let's see what happened next. And remember, I said I was very, very judgmental of my friend. I was just saying, oh, she's behaving fake, and all these things she does, they're not authentic, and so forth. So huge judgment on my part. And so this conflict was just not resolving. And then I figured out that I should just stop chasing for the apology and give this person space, and so that we could both work out what was going on in ourselves. Let me record the next video on judgment.